Hello guys, this is Doran's Movies and welcome to the 8th episode of the Big Q&A. This video is going to be more of the end of the year, future plans for the channel and all of that, but I will also answer some lore questions in the other section of the video. Of course, as always, you can just skip to the parts of the video that you want to see, as all of the times are in the description, so if you don't want to listen to this, you can just listen to the lore, or if you want to skip the lore. So the first big thing, let's not take too much time on the intro. The first big thing is obviously the end of the year, and if you guys have followed me for a long time, I mean, I've been on YouTube for a very long time, but there's been a big influx of people and the new subscribers in the past half a year or a year. In the past few years, what I've done is like a survey every end of the year. It's like a performance of the channel. So 2016 is not going to be any different. I created a survey with Google, obviously, because it's the best way to go about it, as all of the others require you to pay and it's just not that great. So if you have like 5 to 10 minutes, I would really appreciate it if you could just fill in all the questions. The one I did last year was really great. I read all of the inquiries. There was like 200, 300, 400 of them. I know it took a long time, but it was really valuable feedback. So if you feel like there is something about the channel you want to change, or something in the videos, the way the videos are made, just feel free to let me know, as the survey is anonymous, meaning that you can be completely honest. I know a lot of people don't really want to give feedback because it's their name and they don't want like me to have bad feelings against him, but if you have like constructive feedback, just feel free to leave it, even if it's brutally honest, as pretty much everything is really valuable and I really want to improve the channel every year that I go forward. Now, aside from that, in the last year video I set a goal for the channel. If you guys watched that video, it was going to be 50k subs, which obviously was successful. However, we didn't hit the stretch goal, which was 72k, pretty much doubling the channel, but nevertheless we are at 63k, which is pretty much just right between those two goals and quite a bit above the 50k one I set. The channel has definitely grown quite a bit this year and I'm very grateful for your support, and if it really wasn't for you guys, especially you guys like the minority that watches these Q&As, none of this would really be worth it, all of the effort I put into the videos. Also, I would like to give a huge thank you to all the Patreon supporters, as I don't really get a chance to do so. You can see the names of all the supporters at the end of the videos, and I'm super grateful for your support, as you have went a step further to support the channel and help out. And with your support I have been able to upgrade my computer, which is again very helpful, as I've cut the rendering times from like 2 to 3 hours to like 30 minutes. On top of this, I can constantly record at ultra and even sometimes in 60 FPS. Like this video is 60 FPS, although sadly I can't record every video. My big plan was to record every video in 60 FPS. I tried that for the I believe it was the mages video that I did, or the shaman. I tried to do that in 60 FPS. It was kinda laggy. Like I can get like 100 FPS when I just play the game, but when I record, sometimes the footage can get very laggy. I don't know if it is fraps or I think it's just the game. Like the game is very old, it has a very old engine, it's not very optimized, because with this new graphics card and the new processor I can pretty much play all the games on high ultra, but just World of Warcraft sometimes lags when you record it. So if I figure out a way to record at 60 FPS, I will definitely do it, but I don't want to really have some laggy footage just for the sake of having 60 FPS, so I'll see what I can do next year. Now, aside from that, the last thing I really want to talk about the channel, like this is not gonna be a very long video, this is kind of a end of the year thing. I wanted to talk about the plans for the next year. As I said, I always do this. I just want to set goals for the next year, and hopefully, if everything is going right, next year I will also talk about what I said this year and set goals for the next year for the channel. So my big goal for this year is to hit 100k subscribers, which is definitely a big number, but I think it is achievable, as the channel is already growing at a pretty decent rate. Aside from the channel goals and the subscribers, I have a big goal to fix my schedule. This has really been stressful for me, is because I really want to do this seriously, but I have gotten burnt out in the past and I'm trying to fix my schedule, and just when I fix my schedule I have some other thing I gotta do, and then I do like this super long video, so I'm back again on the one video every 10 days. So what I really want to do now is get a video at least once a week from the next year, and based on your feedback in the survey I will try to adjust the quality of the videos, maybe do more class videos, do like versus videos. I know the versus videos, I've been getting a lot of requests for that, so if you guys want to see that, just let me know in the survey as I mentioned it earlier. So I don't think there's really anything more to talk about. That is all there is really for this end of the year video, all the channel updates, and without further ado, let's get into some of the lore questions. Alright, the first question is by Wow Jedi, and he asks, I was wondering if high elves and ogres could be a playable race sometime in the future expansions. So, I have talked about this in previous videos, previous Q&As, but I still think it is a relevant topic and things are constantly changing in the Warcraft universe, so I thought I would mention it again. Just to get it out of the way, I think that high elves as a new race is highly unlikely because they pretty much just look exactly the same as blood elves, just with different eyes. And even if you play like a Death Knight, you'll already kind of look like a high elf. So not only would people say that Blizzard is recycling the content with the high elves, but it also wouldn't be very interesting, especially if it would ruin the opportunity for some other new interesting race. On top of this, lore-wise, the high elves do exist, but they aren't that big in numbers. They're kinda spread out across Dalaran, Stormwind, but they're very few in numbers, and also they have been around pretty much throughout all of the expansions. You have always seen high elves. The issue with that is because we have seen them, usually like new playable races are some like new races that we discover. Like we discovered the goblins. Well, we didn't really discover the goblins, but we discovered the goblins from Kizan. Also, the Draenei, they just landed there, or any other new race was really discovered, even like the Pandaren. But the big thing with the high elves is they have been around. They don't really have a reason to join because we have already seen all of the high elves that are there to see. Maybe unless we find like some high elves that are under the sea, or I don't know, like some temple that they have hidden in like 10,000 years ago. Like they were highborn and then they turn into high elves because of the lack of Well of Eternity, so I really don't think it will be happening. However, I do think that the ogres could possibly be playable. Sure, they have also been throughout all of the expansions, even in Warcraft 1, 2 and 3, and the thing is with them is that they are officially part of the Horde, but the big difference is that even though they are part of the Horde, we have barely even seen them anywhere. Like it's not like you go to some base in Northrend and then you see like a bunch of ogres there joining the Horde, so I do think it could be possible depending on what they can do with the story, because I know some clans, like some smaller clans of the ogres, are actually a part of the Horde. Plus, the thing is about them is that they're different from all of the other races, and it could be a very interesting addition to the game because they're like these big creatures, even bigger than the Tauren, so they would definitely be a new interesting race. So pretty much just to sum it up, I do think that the ogres are a possible new race, and even one of the most likely new races, while I'm almost completely certain that high elves will never really be added to the game as a new playable race. Okay, the next question is by Pandian, and he asks, what do you think Argus will look like when we go there? And will there still be Draenei influences in the architecture and style if it is corrupted? Well, this entire Argus thing has really come out as a big surprise to me. I knew we were going to visit it. There has been a lot of hints in the game, in the books, especially the Illidan novel. I mean, they planned a full-scale invasion on Argus, but I'm kinda really disappointed that Blizzard just ruined the opportunity to create an excellent expansion with this entire new world and a bunch of new demonic races, classes, possibly some new playable races as well. However, as I understood it from BlizzCon, they aren't really going to give a full expansion to Argus. It's just going to be like a patch where we go there, probably something like Firelands, pretty much, which is really lame, as this is like Argus, like this big planet in the lore that the Eredar are from, and kil'jaeden, Archimonde, it's like the main base of the Burning Legion, so I'm really kinda sad that they ruined the opportunity. And for this reason, I think that Argus is going to look very much like Mardoom. It's just going to have like a bunch of recycled assets. It's going to be like this completely dead planet with pools of hell and a bunch of demons roaming around, not really bigger than a size of like 1 or 2 zones. I could be wrong, like I definitely could be wrong, and I wish I would be wrong because I really want to see this interesting new planet. But as it is just one patch, I really don't think they're gonna have like a bunch of new models and like this entire new world. I really think it's just gonna be like one zone or like a phased area of like a planet, which in my opinion, from the lore perspective, is just not a good thing, as this planet is very influential. However, if they do make an expansion over it, maybe in this expansion we just go to Argus and do something, but then there's like this other part of Argus we gotta go to. Maybe we just start out in Argus in the end of this expansion. So definitely think it could be an interesting thing as an expansion in itself, because as you mentioned, we can have like Draenei architecture or like Fel infected. It could kind of look like Exodar but very corrupted. Plus they could also introduce like a lot of new demons, like new types of demons. On top of this, like this interesting theory I had is maybe like we go to Argus and there's like this other planet from the universe that is also invading Argus, so they could become like a playable class, playable race, because you know their world is destroyed and they sent like all they had just to get revenge for their planet, and we have like this new playable race, and then they come back to Azeroth and like settle there. I think that would be a great thing, but I really doubt that it's gonna happen with just one patch. So all in all, I think it's really not going to be epic as I have anticipated and most of the WoW community, but I'm still really hoping Argus is gonna be very interesting and there's gonna be a lot of stuff to do there. Alright, we got two more questions. The next question is by Lucius Chapman, or Lucius Chapman. In your complete and honest opinion, which of the two classes would be strongest lore-wise? Death Knights or Demon Hunters? Alright, so this has been a pretty big discussion on the channel lately, as I have done a lot of these class videos. I have covered the Death Knights and the Demon Hunters. Especially with the Death Knight video, a lot of people have disagreed with me when I said that the Demon Hunters are stronger, but in my opinion, it is of course just my opinion. I'm basing this on the Lich King novel and the Illidan novel. I would say that the Demon Hunters are stronger. The main reason for this is because Demon Hunters really are like this small, very elite force of like superhumans trained directly by Illidan. Death Knights in comparison are also elite, but they weren't really trained as like this main weapon of the Scourge or even by the Lich King himself. I mean, sure, the Lich King was there, but he wasn't really training them. Plus, the biggest power of Arthas was Frostmourne, and the specific Death Knights don't have such powerful rune blades. I mean, yeah, sure they do now in Legion, but it isn't really correct in the lore. There isn't like a million Death Knights with remnants of Frostmourne and the other weapons. A good counter argument to this is that Arthas defeated Illidan, who is the strongest Demon Hunter. He definitely is the strongest Demon Hunter out there, but as I said in the past, it is really just not a good comparison. Arthas is not the average Death Knight. He is much stronger than the average Death Knight. He was empowered by the Lich King almost fully in that final battle, and he had Frostmourne. Of course, as I mentioned, Illidan is the most powerful Demon Hunter, but he is kinda like upper level Demon Hunter average. Like, he isn't that crazy apart from the average Demon Hunter. But if you actually read the novel, because the novel is very much different from that kind of bad cinematic that was in Warcraft 3. In the novel, Illidan almost completely bested Arthas. He completely outclassed him, outmatched him in combat. Arthas wasn't even able to do anything, he barely survived. But in the end, Illidan just got too cocky and Arthas managed to bring in that finishing blow. Also, it is worth mentioning that in the book, Frostmourne is described almost as having a mind of its own, so it is definitely a powerful sword. I'm not saying Arthas was weak, it was only just a sword, but it's just that he's so different from the average Death Knights, and that even though Illidan is the strongest Demon Hunter, he isn't like that different from the other Demon Hunters, as they're pretty much just trained in his image. So just to conclude it, I would say that Demon Hunters are stronger. Of course, both classes have different purposes. The Demon Hunters fight the Legion, the Death Knights were supposed to fight those Paladins, and later on they fought the Lich King, so they have different purposes, different weaknesses. I'm not saying like Demon Hunters can easily beat Death Knights, they have their own weaknesses and strengths, but I think on average I would say that the Demon Hunters are stronger. Alright, and the last question is by Kyle, and he asks, in your personal opinion, what might happen to Demon Hunters when we deal with the Legion? Either we kill off the leaders and it's no more and just demons, or whatever, we deal with the Legion as a whole. What will Demon Hunters do if they dedicated everything to hunting demons? I think because they have spaceships now, they might leave and travel the universe in finding more demon-infested planets and deal with them, but that sounds boring. Alright, so I think I might have read this question wrong. The question is pretty much what will happen with Demon Hunters after this expansion, because they have just one purpose, to defeat the Legion. This is a very tricky question. I personally think that almost the same thing will happen as with the Death Knights. Initially, the Death Knights were trained as a part of the Scourge, and when they got free, their only goal was to defeat the Lich King. It's kind of the same thing with the Forsaken, like their only goal was to defeat Arthas, but after the Lich King was defeated, it was like this big shock, but eventually like they was kind of like this, they were kind of depressed after that, but after that they became more serious members of the Alliance and the Horde and became dedicated to defending Azeroth, as we can see in Legion right now. So I think that the Demon Hunters, even if they complete their goal, they won't be like killed or exiled or anything like that. Of course, that wouldn't even be possible because they're a new playable class. But I think instead what will actually happen in the lore is that they will slowly like reintegrate into the society. The other races that kinda hate Demon Hunters will start to accept them, and they will kinda become like the ebb and blade that they are today. Alright, so that is about all I have for this video. I'm sorry it is a bit shorter than usual. I just wanted to mainly talk about the channel and also answer some lore questions. Of course, if you could check out that survey, just feel free to fill those questions there. I would really appreciate it, because it really helps out, and I do read all the feedback, and I really want to have as much feedback for this year that I can implement in the new year and in the future. So that is all that is. Feel free to leave your questions in the comment section below for the next Q&A. Also send them on Facebook and Twitter as well, and it would be great if you could maybe like type hashtag BigQ&A or BigQ&A, just because sometimes I forget about the questions and I just wanna search them and just know what questions are for the Q&A. So that is all that is. Thanks for watching, Merry Christmas and also Happy New Year, and see you in the new year as well.